everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Allison Moore. Today, I'm going to make this very personal. I'm going back to the very beginning when H&F was founded to remind you of the staggering impact H&F has had on drug discovery and human clinical trials. It is that history of success that is propelling us into an unprecedented time of new therapies, gene and cell therapies, novel drug discoveries, and repurposed drug combinations. I'll be sharing updates on those programs with you, as well as giving you an overview of H&F's exciting and fast-paced research pipeline for many types of CMT. 2022 is going to be our year, a year of new discoveries, more therapeutic pathways, and most importantly, the promising outlook for human clinical trials for CMT. I'm so glad I founded H&F. I am grateful for the H&F team of researchers, collaborators, FDA, and industry that support our efforts advancing CMT treatments to you. All this would not be possible if it weren't for you, your families, and the generosity of our partners and donors. In 1995, I was diagnosed with a rare cancer. I had no idea I had CMT until that terrible day when I was pumped up with lethal amounts of chemo. Within 6 hours of being administered chemotherapy, I lost the normal use of my legs, feet, and hands. It wasn't until 1997 that I was officially diagnosed with CMT. Although I was so happy to be alive, I was devastated to know that unlike cancer, the CMT was incurable. I struggled to accept my fate of living with a disability and if and when I should have children. Luckily, my husband Robert and I made the best decision, and we had 2 children. Christopher was born in 1998 and Thomas in 2001. Knowing that there was a 50% chance of passing my CMT to them, I made a conscious decision to start H&F. That was January 2001, 6 months before Thomas was born. Was I crazy? I had 2 young children, a husband, and a progressive disability. I had my work cut out for me. There were many, many challenges, but at the end of the day, I knew the reward would be so worth it. In 2007, H&F formed the Therapeutic Research and Accelerated Discovery, also known as TRIAD. TRIAD is a collaborative effort with academia, government, and industry to develop treatments for CMT. Currently, TRIAD involves many groups that span the drug discovery, drug development, and diagnostic continuum. This same year, we funded our first impactful research study. It was a quantitative and qualitative study titled What It's Like to Live with CMT, Those That Know It Best. I was very proud of this study, but not everybody shared my enthusiasm. After I presented the data at the University of Chicago, a well-known neurologist said it wasn't even very scientific, chuckling at the table seated with at least 10 academics. I was a bit embarrassed, but being a New Yorker and resilient, I became super motivated to prove him wrong. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, the patient voice really doesn't matter. That's when I decided that the foundation will always have a patient-centered focus. Patients will always come first. This model has served us well with so many of our research and industry partners. We have one major goal at H&F, and that's to cure CMT. While we are not yet there, we are getting closer each day. I personally put my efforts into helping to advance what we believe to be the first disease-modifying drug to treat the most common type of CMT, CMT1A. It was 2012 when the Foreign Chief Science Officer reached out to me looking for funding to support their CMT1A drug, PXT-3003. The ask was rather large and we didn't have the resources, but we agreed to keep in touch. As I eagerly kept track of all the press about Foreignex, I read a promising press release in August of 2013 that there would soon be a clinical trial for CMT. I immediately sent an email to the founder, Dr. Daniel Cohen, and explained who I was and told him about the resources H&F had to offer him. For instance, our patient registry, GRIN, and our robust online discussion community, Inspire. I knew he could feel how excited I was for this potential therapy. After receiving my email, Dr. Cohen reached out to me to set up a call. I was headed out on vacation, but I wasn't about to miss this opportunity. So a few days later, there I was in the middle of the Mediterranean on a call with Dr. Cohen. I ended up diverting my trip to Paris instead of heading home to New York. Nervous and excited at the same time, I made the trip to meet Daniel in person. Daniel and I continued to meet at least a half dozen times the next year as they developed their clinical trial protocol. He shared the challenges and how much he needed my help. So I gathered the H&F team and we made a plan. We shared data that would be important to developing the protocol. We identified principal investigators to run the trial, and we launched HNF Centers of Excellence, and we spread the word about Farnex. Nearly 9 years later, Farnex is wrapping up the phase 3 clinical trial with expected results in 2023. So exciting. This success story has created a roadmap for half a dozen other successful partnerships. HNF's collaboration with Acceleron was another important milestone for HNF. HNF held the first focus group to help the company develop the clinical trial and identify principal investigators. Acceleron, like Farnex, was also super patient-centric, and they quickly engaged our expertise in patient-reported outcomes research. Together, we launched a large patient-reported outcomes study, and little did we know that the findings would set the stage for the clinical trial design, incorporating fall risk, pain, and documenting quality of life. The impact went way beyond this study, and many of our outcomes are being used in research, patient care, and clinical trials today. Although CMT1A is the most common type of CMT, HNF is committed to all types of CMT. There are many possible pathways, and not all will be successful. But with well-thought-out strategic plan and the right team, anything's possible. I regularly attended the annual Peripheral Nerve Society meeting, but couldn't recall even one presentation on gene therapy for any type of CMT. I knew it was very important to shed light in the CMT scientific community that gene therapy may actually be a viable treatment for many types of CMT, especially the rare ones. My dear friend Lori Sames, founder of Hannah's Hope Fund, from her kitchen table, championed the development of a gene therapy for the ultra-rare inherited neuropathy, giant axonal neuropathy, which affects her daughter, Hannah. It's also known as GAN. Since HNF's mission is to represent all types of CMT and inherited neuropathies, in 2015, we offered to sponsor Dr. Rachel Bailey of the C. Gray Lab at UNC to present her promising results of a gene therapy to save these kids' lives. And here we are 7 years later, and in partnership with Taysha Pharmaceuticals, our summit sponsor and the company that acquired the GAN program. To build upon the first successes of GAN, HNF is championing the gene therapy for several types of CMT, including CMT4A, which is GDAP1, CMT6, which is C12-OR65, and an ultra-rare fatal inherited neuropathy called CMT-NAP1. For each type, we have assembled a stellar team of research experts in the field to develop both cellular and animal models to better understand each disease and to confirm that a gene therapy approach is a viable path. These projects are well underway, and they look very promising. At the same PNS meeting, we had a brief but impactful conversation with a CMT researcher at the University of Sheffield. His name is Dr. Andy Grecian. He was sharing his research on the zebrafish that he developed with CMT2A. Joy Ultrich and I were fascinated on how a fish could replicate disease and actually show deficits while swimming. He explained how the fish swam abnormally sideways and that this fish might be an excellent model to test drugs. I remember Joy closing her eyes and spreading out her arms to demonstrate her own lack of balance or proprioception. It was a learning moment that Andy would soon never forget. It was then that HNF decided to put resources into studying the impact of a drug called HDEX6 and how it may have an impact in treating CMT2A, as well as other axonal types of CMT. 7 years later, HNF is a seed investor in a startup biotech company called Miralink Pharmaceuticals. A team of HDEX6 experts are currently working to advance a treatment to human trials. Another important piece of therapy development is creating models, both cellular and animal, to understand the cellular, molecular, and genetic mechanisms of disease, and to help identify therapy targets and pathways to treatments and cures. HNF continues to develop cellular and animal models for as many types of CMT as possible. The impact some of our models have had on treatments is remarkable. One example is the CMT2A mouse model funded by HNF and developed at UC Davis in California. This model was used to help Mitochondria in Motion, a startup biotech company, validate their drug, which shows promise to treat CMT2A. Another one of our research partners at University of Miami, Dr. Stefan Zuckner, and his colleagues discovered a new CMT2 gene called SWORD. This breakthrough was super exciting to HNF. Over 40% of our patients in the patient registry, GRIN, don't have a genetic diagnosis. Therefore, we have worked very hard testing these patients. We report that so far we have found 40 patients with SWORD. We are so excited to support the therapy development for this type of CMT. So we developed a rat model to support Dr. Zuckner's work and making it available to other researchers in industry. In fact, one of our newest partnerships is with Applied Therapeutics, a biotech company working on SWORD. Their promising drug AT007 is expected to start trials later this year. HNF has also developed a new partnership with Rarebase. Rarebase is leading the charge in the first ever research initiative to tackle multiple types of CMT in one project. Rarebase is a public benefit biotech company focused on accelerating therapy development for rare diseases with its tech-enabled drug discovery platform called Function. Rarebase will screen a compounded libraries, actually thousands of FDA-approved drugs and novel drugs targeting 10 subtypes of CMT. Please make sure to join the Rarebase presentation by Omid, the co-founder and CEO of Rarebase, next to learn about this exciting project. I can't emphasize enough how much progress has been made since I started HNF. The time is now, a time of translation, a time of advancement, and a time for our voices to be heard for treatments for all of us. They say that past performance is the best predictor for future success, and I hope after learning a bit more about HNF's impact on CMT research, you'll join in supporting us by making a donation or fundraising to keep these exciting projects moving forward. The more funds we raise, the faster we can develop treatments for all of us living with CMT. Thank you.